both to the governments of Denmark and Australia, to our esteemed leader, Tony Lake here, who has single-handedly changed the agenda and put equity on the map, a great friend to my colleagues from Special Olympics, to my boss, Vivian Torrijos, member of our International Board of Directors, to our International Global Messenger, Ariel Ary from Costa Rica. To all of you, I will be very brief. You may be wondering why a guy from Special Olympics is at the United Nations, at UNICEF, talking about a disability rights agenda and an equity platform and social justice and economic rights and political equality. What do I have to do with any of those things? You may be thinking to yourself. And it's a good question. But I think the answer is right here in front of us. I think the possibilities of changing not just the landscape for people with disabilities, but in fact the whole way in which the United Nations and the global political infrastructure thinks about social and political change can change if we listen to the core grassroots needs and experiences of people with differences, their families and the people that care about them, and ask them, don't tell them, ask them what's most important to them, and then watch as they vote with their feet in their hands for the things they think they can do to fight for themselves and to advocate for their own needs and rights in the ways they see fit. We, in our movement, have learned every single important lesson we have come to understand from people with intellectual differences and from their families. We have learned that play, recreation, sport, and development are critically important to their lives. When every other kind of organization said recreation, that's not important, we need to do health and education and houses and bridges and all those kinds of things. What did the people tell us? We want to play. We want to have recreation opportunities. We want to have mothers and children learn how to grow and develop together. We want to have sport in our lives. We want to feel good about ourselves. We want our bodies in action. We want nutrition that makes us feel like we're having a good time. Second thing we've learned from them is that when you bring people together and ask them, don't tell them what they have to do, but ask them to become agents of change, they almost universally say, yes, I will. That the largest untapped resource in global development is citizens themselves. That when we pass conventions and we look to figure out how to enforce them, the untapped resource for enforcement is citizen community activists who themselves become empowered to enforce these conventions themselves. Not governments, not just legal entities. We need them, but we need communities of enforcement that come from the bottom up and demand the kind of educational opportunities and nutrition and health opportunities that these conventions demand and make governments responsive to their needs. And the third thing we've learned is that when communities become empowered and when self-advocates have their voice heard, there is no political obstacle that cannot be overcome. So I'm here to say I hope that this first gathering, this first historic gathering, small in number though it may be, will begin a process of reminding and educating the world that from the bottom up, people with differences, let's even think about the wording as we all do. I'm over disability. I'm sorry to say, I know it's on the platform here. But the neurologists are telling us, the biologists are telling us that intelligence is 1,000,000-fold and that there are 1,000,000 kinds of ability. And why don't we start talking about the different kinds of ability that exist in this room instead of beginning to label people by their anything? Why don't we label people as they are, their names and their gifts? And I hope that... So, I want you to know that this sports organization that runs 50,000 events a year at the community level, that brings 4 million children and adults with intellectual differences into the joy of sport, gives them opportunities to become healthy and educated, invites them to play together with their non-differently abled peers, that we're here as a partner. You may not have expected to find us here, but we are here as a partner. We are in 180 countries. We welcome you to our big games next January in Korea, in South Korea. We will be holding games where we will challenge the global community to equate the resources given to people with intellectual differences. And we invite you to our small games. the small football competitions, the swimming matches, the volleyball games that are taking place in communities all around the world. So if you were to ask me, when is the next Special Olympics Games, I would say today. Where? All over the world. Who's running them? Volunteer citizen activists. Who's empowering them? People with intellectual differences themselves. What's their message? That we need a dignity revolution here and now. And so it's my great honor to introduce a leader of that dignity revolution, my colleague from the great country of Costa Rica, and a spokesperson who has spoken all over the world on behalf of the dignity revolution, Ariel Ary, the bilingual, the great tennis player. Ariel.
It's hard to eat a large one. It's hard to eat a large one, huh? Good afternoon. Good afternoon. I am going to do it first in Spanish, and then I am going to say to English. It is fine?
Yes.
Buenas tardes a todos. Para mí es un honor estar hoy compartiendo este foro con todos ustedes. Dentro del objetivo del milenio debemos incluir la igualdad de oportunidades para las personas con discapacidad intelectual, al que con todo respeto quiero llamar personas con capacidades diferenciadas. Es una realidad que para nosotros es casi imposible ser aceptados en las escuelas y es aún más difícil que nos permitan ser miembros activos de una sociedad productiva. Encontrar un seguro de salud o un trabajo se nos hace casi imposible y al estar aislados nos convertimos en una carga para la sociedad. Nosotros debemos tener la oportunidad de crecer en todos los campos. Debemos ser valorados por todo lo que sí tenemos y no por lo que nos hace falta. Debemos tener las mismas oportunidades a nivel de salud, de educación, de deporte y a nivel laboral. El escritor británico Shriver una vez dijo: educar a una persona no es hacer aprender algo que no sabía, sino hacer de él alguien que no existía. Permítanme contarles un poco de mi historia. Vengo de una familia con muchos médicos porque mi desarrollo fue siempre analizado y cuestionado. Dado a que necesité muchas cirugías, hubo profesores de mis familiares que me recomendaron hace 20 años dejarme morir, pues no valía la pena alargarme la vida. Eso era lo que le enseñaban en las aulas universitarias. Hubo muchos cuestionamientos acerca de cuánto intelecto yo llegaría a desarrollar, pues nunca pensaron que sería capaz de graduarme, como lo hice, de un colegio trilingüe regular. Jamás imaginaron que sería un mensajero global de una organización tan importante como lo es Olimpiadas Especiales, y mucho menos que sería capaz de trabajar full time en una compañía transnacional como lo es IBM, que es donde actualmente trabajo. Hoy, gracias a los que sí crecieron en mí, estoy aquí con ustedes y soy, como digo, John Ruskin, una persona que sí educaron, ese alguien que no existía. Tense cuenta que nosotros somos más parecidos que diferentes a todos ustedes. Somos personas que no nos damos por vencidos. We never, ever give up. Y que luchamos por la igualdad. Como dijo Benjamin Franklin, dime y lo olvido. Enseñarme y lo recuerdo. Involúcreme y lo aprendo. Ustedes pueden y deben involucrarnos en sus proyectos. En nombre de los 4 millones de atletas especiales de alrededor del mundo, todas gracias a UNICEF por todo el apoyo que nos está dando. Tengo la esperanza de hacer este mundo un lugar más inclusivo y mejor para todos. Muchas gracias. Now I am doing it in English. Good afternoon. It is an honor for me to be here sharing this forum with all of you. Among the Millennium Goals, we must include an agenda on equal opportunities for people with intellectual disabilities. To whom, with all due respect, I refer as people with different skills. It is a reality that for people like us, it is almost impossible to be accepted in a mainstream school. But it is even harder for us to be allowed to become productive members of a society. Under these circumstances, we become isolated and a burden to our society. We deserve to be given the opportunity to grow in all areas. We must be valued for what we have and not for what we lack. We must have the same opportunities at all levels: health, education, sports, and jobs. The British sociologist John Ruskin once said, educating a person means not teaching him or her something they did not know, but making him or her become someone who did not exist before. Please let me tell you a little bit about myself. There are many doctors in medicine in my family. For this reason, my development was always analyzed and questioned. Ever since I was born, I had to undergo a series of surgeries. Some professors of my relative even recommended 20 years ago to let me die, because it made no sense to prolong my life. Sadly, this is what the doctors have been taught in the classrooms. There were many questions about my intellect and my development. These people never thought that I finished school as I did, graduating from a regular to lingual high school. These people never imagined I would be a global medicine from a Special Olympics. These people never imagined I would be a full-time working in the Human Resources Department in the prestigious transnational company such as IBM, where I am currently working. I work full-time, 7 a.m. to 4 p.m. Today, and thanks to all those who did believe in me, I am here before you, a person who was indeed educated, and as John Ruskin says, that someone who did not exist before. I want you to realize that we are more alike than different. We never